Dear scholars, as you know, we are discussing the philosophy of John Locke, and in the previous sessions, we have discussed some parts of his first treatise. Today, we will discuss some of the selected chapters from his second treatise. So, we begin with the chapter 9 of the ends of political society and government. So, first of all, this chapter deals with the reason for giving up freedom. So, since our course is theories of freedom, theories of politics, our course is theories of politics. So, either the word theory is used here or not. The theory is there. Why? How do we know it is a theory? Because it is general. The theoretical explanations are general explanations. The theoretical statements are general statements. So when John Locke talks about freedom here, so is he talking about freedom of some specific group or freedom of all people? He is talking about freedom of all people. So it is a general statement. So here, in fact, we are discussing John Locke's theory of freedom. When he discusses government or governance, we are studying his theory of government or theory of governance. When he talks about rights, discusses rights, human rights, we are talking about his theory of human rights. Okay, so these are all theories. So let us be very clear. So either the word theory is used or not, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter. There may not be the exact word theory, but we at this higher level of learning, we must be aware. We must know these are all theories because they are general understandings about various aspects of politics. So they are theories of politics. So the John Locke's theory of freedom. John Locke says a person in the state of nature is very free. A person in the state of nature is very free. He is the complete master of his own body and possessions. Man is the complete master of his possessions and of his body in the state of nature. In the state of nature. And in the state of nature, there's no law, there's no authority, no government. That is the state of nature. And the man is equal to the greatest person and is controlled by no one. So in the state of nature, all people are equal. And no one controls anyone else. So all people rule themselves. That is self-rule. That is self-rule. So why would he give up this freedom and power? Why would he agree to be ruled by another power? So why would he agree to have a government? Why would he agree to have rules and laws and authorities above him? John Locke asks. The answer is simple and clear. John Locke says the answer to these questions is very simple and clear. Even though the man has all those rights in the state of nature, enjoying them is very uncertain. In the state of nature, people had rights, but those rights were not certain. They were uncertain. There was no guarantee whether the rights will be enjoyed or not. He is always at risk of other people invading his space and property. So other people could invade him or her and his property could be invaded, could be attacked. Everyone in that state is as much a king as he is, because all are kings, all rule themselves. It is self rule. So, all people in the state of nature are kings of their own, of themselves. Okay? So, any king can attack any other king. This is the state of nature. All people are equal to him, but most people do not strictly follow fair rules and justice. So, because there is no authority, there's no police, there's no fear of any such court. So, some people, or many people, in John Locke's words, most people, do not strictly follow fair rules and justice. Because of this, the property he owns is very unsafe. In the state of nature, personal property is unsafe and completely insecure. This makes him want to leave this condition. So, the man in the state of nature wants to have some safety for himself and for his possessions, for his property. Even though it is a state of freedom, it is full of fears and constant dangers. So, dangers are all around in the state of nature if there is no authority, if there is no state. Therefore, it is sensible for him to look for and join a society with others. Join a society with others. These others are either already united or want to unite. They join together to mutually protect their lives, freedoms, and estates. So, people living in the state of nature, they join together, they become united to protect their lives, freedoms, and properties. John Locke says, I call these things by the general name property. So, uh, make a special note. Make a special note that what is the meaning of property in John Locke's words? Lives, freedoms, and estates. Our life is also our property. Our freedom is also our property. And our state's possessions, they are also part of. So these are the three basic dimensions of property in Lockean theory. The main purpose of government. Now we are studying the theory of government, the theory of the purpose of government.
It is same like social contract.
Yes, 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 exactly. The great and chief reason why people join together into countries or commonwealths is the preservation of their property. So, this is the basic purpose, that people get united. They make a state. People make a state for the safety and preservation of their property. So, property also includes our lives. And I will keep reminding you. Property also includes our life, our body, and our freedoms, our rights. They're also our property. The state of nature is missing many things needed for this preservation. Some of the basic things which are required for the safety of our property, for our safety, they are missing in the state of nature. Now, let us see what is missing in the state of nature. Firstly, a fixed, agreed upon, known law is missing. There is no known law in the state of nature. This law must be accepted by everyone as the standard for what is right and wrong. So, law defines, law tells us what is right, what is wrong, what is acceptable for the society, and what is not acceptable. It must be the common law, it must be the common way to settle all disagreements between people. So, the law helps to settle the disagreements. The law of nature is clear. and easy to understand for all sensible people. The law of nature. But the law of nature was not written. It could be ascertained by common sense, it could be understood by thinking, by paying attention. Okay, it could be. But most of the people, they generally don't do this. They don't think so much that they understand the law of nature.
सर अकॉर्डिंग टू जॉन लॉक ये जो लॉ ऑफ नेचर है अथॉरिटी कहाँ बिलोंग करती है?
Authority? It is coming. Yes, the answer is coming to this question. Where does the authority stand? What is the place of authority? The law of nature is clear and easy to understand for all sensible people. However, people are often influenced by their own interests. So, even if they understand the law of nature, they get to understand it, they overlook it, they ignore it in order to serve their personal interest. In order to serve their personal interest. They are also sometimes ignorant of the law because they haven't studied it. So they are not likely to accept it as a binding law. So in the state of the nature, the law of nature was not binding when applying it to their own problems. The next point is the need for an impartial judge. So judge is an authority.
Yes.
Judge is an authority who decides the disputes. So, secondly, the state of nature lacks a known judge and a neutral judge. There's no judge who is neutral or known in the state of nature. This judge needs the authority to settle all differences according to an established law. According to an established law. In that state, even every person is both the judge and the punisher of the law of nature. So, because everyone is the ruler for himself or herself, so they themselves apply the law of nature. So, they are the punishers. People are often biased towards themselves. There's biasness in them.
सर ऑफन नहीं हमेशा ही होता है ऐसे तो कहीं ना कहीं अपने लिए बायसनेस
Yes,
होती है.
even when we have come out of the state of nature, even then most of the people are biased. So just imagine if there is no law, there's no authority, then what would be the situation? So strong feelings like passion and revenge can make them go too far in their own cases. So when the case is in their favor, they can go too far. They act with too much anger and too much heat. Yes, they act with too much heat. At the same time, they are often careless and unconcerned about other people's cases. If the case is in others' favors, the people are careless. This makes them too lenient in punishing the actions of others. So, in fact, here Locke is discussing human psychology, political psychology. We are here discussing political psychology. Yesterday, I was in Islamabad and I met a graduate of our psychology department. He is an advocate over there. So he mentioned that in Pakistan, no one is studying political psychology, no one is teaching. So I told him that I thought that the departments of sociology, psychology, they teach, they study and teach this course, political psychology. He said no. He was a psychology graduate from our university. So then I promised to him that I will make some effort that people in the departments of political science they study the course political psychology. So in the coming days and semesters, I will prepare an outline of the course political psychology, and hopefully it will be approved and implemented.
वैसे हम एक कोर्स पढ़ते भी हैं साइकोलॉजी का तो उसको हटा के अगर पॉलिटिकल साइकोलॉजी लाई जाए तो वो ज़्यादा बेनिफिशियल होगी।
Um, I think that is the general course, and the Higher Education Commission and the university authorities may not allow to replace it. That's the general course. It is a specialized course,
वो
political
4
psychology.
सेमेस्टर्स के लिए ज़रूरी होते हैं।
Yes, yes, in BS.
जी।
So, political psychology can be introduced at the BS level as well as at the MPhil level. Even at the PhD level, it can be taught.
Yes.
Political psychology. It is important to understand the psychology of the people and psychology of the leaders to understand what are the motives behind certain policy making, and what the consequences can be by choosing a certain leader. Okay, so John Locke says at the same time, people are often careless and unconcerned about other people's cases. This makes them too lenient in punishing the actions of others. Next point, the lack of enforcement power in the state of nature. Thirdly, the state of nature often lacks the power to back up and support a sentence when it is right. Sentence means punishment. There is often no power to make sure the sentence is properly carried out in the state of nature. There is no mechanism. Those who have done wrong by being unfair will almost always use force to defend their injustice if they can. In the state of nature, might is right.
Yes.
Whoever is stronger will prevail the weak, irrespective of the fact whether the weak is right or wrong. Who is right or the wrong? This kind of resistance often makes the punishment dangerous. It can even be destructive to those who try to carry it out in the state of nature. The next point is driven into society. People driven into society. So, keeping these shortcomings in the state of nature, even with all the privileges of the state of nature, human life is in a poor condition while people stay in it. People are quickly forced to move into a society. Because of this, we rarely find any large group of people living in the state of nature for long. So people generally avoid living in the state of nature. They want to have some sort of order and stability and safety. The problems and dangers they face come from the random and uncertain way everyone uses their power to punish others. This makes them seek safety under the established laws of government. So, the theory of government. Why do we need governments? So that there are established laws which the government implements. They look to the government to protect their property. It is another function of the government, that the government protects the property of the people, and property includes our lives and freedoms. So it is the in Lockean theory, it is the duty of the government to provide safety to our lives, to our freedoms, and to our possessions. This is why they willingly gave up. The people who lived in the state of nature, they willingly gave up their personal power to punish. So, in the state of nature, they could punish the others personally. When they formed a state and established a government, now people cannot punish the criminals personally. Now it is the state which will punish the criminals. So when people punish the criminals personally, whether it is a mob or whatever, is it legal?
No.
If someone kills someone under the garb of some religious duty, is it legal?
No.
It is not legal. It goes against the spirit of having a state. It undermines the state. They agree for this power to be used only by the person or people appointed to do it among them. The people agree for this power, power of the state, power of the government, to be used only by the person or people appointed to do it among them, which are appointed by the government, by the state authorities. So this power will be used according to the rules that the community or those they authorize agree on. This power will be used according to the rules that the community or those they authorize agree on. Here we see the original right and rise of both the law making power and the law enforcing power. So, this is the original right of the legislative and of the executive. It is also the original right and rise of governments and societies themselves. The next point, the two powers given up. The two powers which the people had in this state of nature after coming in, after having a social contract or after forming a state, now they have given up, they have withdrawn from two rights, two powers. In the state of nature, a person has two main powers. The first power is the freedom to do whatever he thinks is needed to preserve himself and others within what the law of nature allows. Through this law, which is common to everyone, he and all others are one great community. Through this law of nature, they form one society separate from all other creatures. If it were not for the badness and wrongdoing of corrupted people, there would be no need for any other society. Okay? If in the state of nature there was nothing bad, people would do nothing bad, nothing wrong, then there would be no need for having a state or a government. There would be no need for people to separate from this great natural community and form smaller groups. The other power, the second power the people had in the state of nature. The other power a person has in the state of nature is the power to punish crimes. This was the second power of the man in the state of nature. He could punish others personally for crimes committed against the law of nature. He gives up both of these powers when he joins a particular political society. Political society and state as a political society. So when people enter into a state, they give up these two powers. He joins a country that is separate from the rest of mankind. Now, there are different states. There is a state in one area of the world, then there is another state, and there are other states, so there are many states. So, one person is usually a member of one state, usually. So, he joins a commonwealth that is separate from the rest of the mankind. The next point, giving up the first power. The first power, that is that of doing whatever he thought fit for his preservation and the preservation of mankind, is given up. It is given up to be regulated by laws made by the society, because now laws exist, laws of the state exist. So those laws, they will be acted upon, they will be institutionalized and operationalized for the safety of the citizens. This is done only so far as is needed to preserve himself and the rest of that society. These laws made by society often limit the freedom he had under this law of nature. Now that freedom is limited by the state law, by the state authorities. Next point is giving up the second power. Secondly, he completely gives up the power of punishing. He pledges his natural force, which he used to apply to carry out the law of nature by his own authority. He pledges this force to assist the society's law enforcing power as the law requires. So the law enforcing power is the executive power. Ministers. Executive means the ministers. He is now in a new condition where he gets many benefits. So in the after coming out of the state of nature, after coming to the state of society, now he gets many benefits. He gains help and protection from the labor, assistance, and strength of others in the same community. So, first, in the state of nature, he was self reliant. He had to rely on himself for all basic needs, for all needs, for all requirements. Now, under the state of society, now he can have help of others as well. Because of this, he must also give up as much of his natural freedom regarding providing for himself as the well being, success, and safety of the society demand. Now, the man in the state of society has to give up some of his freedom. This is not only necessary, but it is fair. It is fair. So, when all people in the state of society they give up a part of their freedom, in fact, they have lost nothing. Nothing is lost because all have equally given up some of their freedom. So ultimately, nothing of their freedom has been lost because they are, at least theoretically, they are equal. The next point is the limit of government power. When people enter society, they give up the equality, they give up the freedom, and law enforcing power they had in the state of nature. In the state of nature, they put this power into the hands of the society. The lawmaking body can then use this power as the good of the society requires. However, every person only does this with the goal of better protecting himself, his freedom, and his property. It is not reasonable to think that a person would choose to make his condition worse. So, no one wants to be in the worst condition. Therefore, the power of the society or the lawmaking body can never extend further than the common good. The power of the society or power of the lawmaking body can never extend further than the common good. So, all the governmental authority, its purpose is the good of the people. It is the good of the people. The government is absolutely required to secure everyone's property. It must do this. So government is also an authority. So we are discussing the theory of authority. Yes, authorities. So in a state, all the authorities are governmental authorities. In a state institutions. So the government is absolutely required to secure everyone's property. It must do this by fixing the three defects mentioned earlier. There were three defects in the state of nature. There was no law, there was no judge, and what was the third? There was no executing body which would implement the law. So it must do this by fixing the three defects mentioned earlier that made the state of nature so unsafe and so difficult. The lawmaking or supreme power of any country is therefore bound to govern by fixed standing laws. So the governmental authorities, they are not totally free, absolutely free. They are bound. There are restrictions on them. There are limitations on them. They have to operate within the laws, according to the laws. These laws must be published and known to the people. So there can be no secret law. If a law is secret, the people don't know it. How can they abide by it?
Yes.
How can they act upon it? And if they do not know it, how can they be punished if they violate it? So it would be unfair if a law is made and it is not known to the people and they are punished. It is unfair. It is misuse of authority. But if the government, makes laws and they are available on the websites and in the books and in the newspapers, and they are discussed on TV channels and social media, and by chance I don't know, so it is my fault
Yes.
because I am living in a state, so I must be aware of the laws of the state. So if I don't know and I am punished, so it is not the state's fault. It is my fault. So the citizens must know the laws. If they don't know and they are punished, they cannot blame the state.
सर जैसे अब सेफ सिटी वाला प्रोजेक्ट इतने लोग कह रहे हैं हमें क्यों वो हो रहा है
Yes,
हालांकि उन्होंने बताया वो सारा वेबसाइट्स वगैरह पे
yes, it is our fault. We are not making effort to know it and act upon it. So these laws must be published and known to the people. The government must not rule by temporary orders or sudden orders. So there should be no sudden orders. For example, if a law is introduced 5 minutes ago and I go to the road and I violate it, so it is not possible for me to be aware in the real time what the prime minister is doing and what the other minister and presidents or governors are making the laws. So it is not possible. So there should be time. Sufficient time should be given to the citizens to know the laws so that they act upon them. The government must not rule by temporary orders or sudden orders. It must use neutral and honest judges. These judges must settle disagreements using those established laws. The government must use the force of the community at home only to enforce those laws. So if some of the people, some of the citizens, they are not willing to abide by the law, then the government has the authority to use force. So generally, we observe people violate the law, the government uses the force, and then the same people say our rights are violated, our freedoms are violated. Is it fair?
Yes.
No, it's not fair. It's not fair. As citizens, we must observe the laws, we must not violate the laws, and when we violate them, so the state has the right to use force. It must use its force abroad. So it is the theory of using force, use of force by the government. It must use its force abroad only to prevent or correct harm from foreign attacks. So when we defend ourselves against other countries, we also use force for our defense. This force is also used to protect the community from invaders. All of this must be directed towards no other goal than the peace, safety, and public good of the people. So you can also take it as the theory of war. Why a nation has to go to a war? What is the legitimate war? The just war for our defense. If we have waged a war, started a war for our defense, it is a just war. The war is required. All of this must be directed towards no other goal than the peace, safety, and public good of the people. So, if a country is waging a war, the purpose must be peace. The purpose must be peace, safety, and public good. Public good. So, for other bad purposes, wars should not be started. Okay, it was chapter 9. Chapter 10. What time is it?
340
3:40. Yet we have time. I think we can discuss this. So, chapter 10 of the forms of a commonwealth. How government forms are created. How government forms are created. When people first join a society, the majority holds all the power of the community. The majority holds all the power of the community. This is a natural result of them uniting because they have get united, so they have all the power. The majority can use this entire power to make laws for the community over time. They can also use this power to carry out those laws, to implement those laws. This is done by having officials whom they themselves choose. So there can be elected officers, there can be elected judges, there can be elected representatives. Okay. If they do this, the government is a perfect democracy if the officials are elected. So the government is a democracy. Alternatively, the majority can choose to place the power of making laws into the hands of just a few chosen men. This power can be given to those few men and their descendants or replacements. If they do this, the government is an oligarchy. If few people are ruling, the majority is not ruling, it is oligarchy. Or the majority can put the power of making laws into the hands of one single man. If one man is ruling, one person is ruling, if they do this, the government is a monarchy. If the power is given to the man and his heirs, it is a hereditary monarchy. Heirs, yes. If the power is only given to him for his lifetime and the right to choose his replacement returns to the majority when he dies, it is an elective monarchy. It is an elective monarchy. So one is hereditary monarchy, the other is elective monarchy. In United Kingdom, what type of monarchy today is? It is constitutional, but still it is hereditary. It is hereditary. It is not elective. People don't elect their king. They become the kings because they are born in the royal family. The majority can also mix and combine these forms of government as they see fit. The majority can also mix and combine these forms of government as they see fit. So in United Kingdom, there is a monarchy and it is also a democracy, parliamentary democracy, because the monarchy is constitutional monarchy. It has accepted the constitution and the rules, the laws made by the government. Sometimes the majority may give the lawmaking power to one or more people for only their lifetimes or for a set time limit. After that limited time is up, the supreme power then comes back to the community. When the supreme power comes back, the community is free to use it again. They can choose to give it to any group they please. They can then set up a new form of government. The form of any government depends entirely on where the supreme power is placed. Where the supreme power is placed. If the supreme power is placed in majority, it is democracy. If the supreme power is placed in few hands, it is oligarchy. It is placed in one person, it is monarchy. This supreme power is the law-making power, legislative power. Supreme power is the law-making power. So who makes the laws? That is the basic thing. It is impossible to think that a lower power could give orders to a higher power. A lower power cannot order the higher power. The higher power can order the lower powers. Only the supreme power can make laws. Therefore, the structure of the country is determined by where the law making power is located. The next point is what Commonwealth means. John Locke says, when I use the word Commonwealth, I do not mean only a democracy. I do not mean only a democracy. I also do not mean any single form of government. Instead, I want it to be understood that I mean any independent community, any independent state is a commonwealth. The ancient Latin word for this was civitas. Civitas, ancient Latin word. The word that best matches civitas in British English is commonwealth. So it is the meaning of the civitas. Commonwealth properly describes such a society of people in a way that the word community does not. So, the word community, it has different meanings, connotations. The Commonwealth has different meanings. For example, there can be smaller communities. There can be smaller communities within the Commonwealth, within a larger government. The word city is an even worse word to use for this idea. So, city is also not equal to Commonwealth. To avoid any confusion, I asked for permission to use the word Commonwealth in this way. John Locke says he asked the readers to allow him to use the word Commonwealth in this way. And he says, I believe this is the proper meaning of the word. John Locke says. King James himself used the word in this exact way. King James. If anyone dislikes this, I am happy to change it for a better word. John Locke says, if anybody does not agree with me and he dislikes this use of commonwealth, so I am happy to change it for a better word. Chapter 11 of the extent of the legislative power. Should we continue or stop? Hmm?
Next class.
Oh, okay, okay. We stop here. And the next class, we will study of the chapter 11 of the extent of the legislative power. So we conclude